As promised, I have Esther Karaoke in the studio with me, and she's the Marketing and Student Recruitment Manager from ALX Pathway. And today we are talking very big things, how to access global universities with ALX Pathway. And thank you so much first for coming to the studio. I kept listening to the conversation on the Situation Room, and I was very curious. And it's so good that you're here to also speak to our mid-morning audience and listener, and just help us shed some light. Sometimes you have questions, so we're going to have Q&A. If you have any questions, you can ask Esther at SpiceFMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I don't know if you have an at
ALX Kenya.
Yes. So we can have the conversation together. I don't know, where do we start? When should somebody probably pursue ALX to point them in the right direction? I know you start university recruitment process when you're still in high school. So when do you advise that someone gets in touch with you?
I'll say right when they're almost finishing high school or just after finishing. And the reason for that is, I know that we start thinking about, our careers and all that you want to do when you're in high school.
Yes.
And even as ALX, we take the time to go to high schools to kind of like mentor and coach young people around, how do you choose your career? How do you choose your degree? What are the potential opportunities that are opening up?
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest gap is also not knowing what are the new careers that are coming up.
Very
Whether
true.
it's in the tech space, the creative space, even with AI and everything. And you find that, in high school, people just know about, let's say, law, engineering, medicine,
and
the very
standard. Esther, let's not pretend everybody's parent wants them to do procurement. So you can go and we read about you in the newspaper years later that you are rich, but even if you're in a little trouble, but we think like that. Yeah. So you advise and say this is currently what is marketable.
Yeah, so, a lot of people are moving towards the tech space, towards the AI space, but also it's not just that. There's like a bigger world opening, because I think also, when you grow in the Kenyan system, you think that you can only pursue opportunities here in Kenya.
That is very true.
Or you can even only work here in Kenya. You don't think broader, or maybe even, let's say, if you're based in shags, maybe like, in the rural area, you think that, I can only go as far as Nairobi. For example.
That is very true.
Nairobi is
We're not global citizens. We think our careers start and end here. In fact, it's out of the ordinary when you imagine I have a friend of mine who, I'm just going to say to name drop kidogo. My friend works for Apple and he was headhunted. And it's almost profound to imagine things like that happen. But they do happen. Yeah. They do happen, but I understand that now we have ALX to guide us so that we can not expedite, but kind of almost have a probability of that actually happening. Let me ask you a question. How you handle certain things. Okay, in my school, we picked our subject clusters very early in Form 2.
Yes.
So now when you're sitting for your national exam, when you're going now to apply for the university, unamba hii combination yako, hakuna hata kitu unaweza soma. In fact, I think I could have probably just been told to go and sing because you don't need credentials to sing, because I had removed business education. We pick according to how we like our teachers. You're like, huyu anapenda kushout. Do you also guide in how children, how candidates cluster their subjects? Do you help as early as that, or you just try to come at the tail end when now they are fully aware this is the direction I want to take?
So we mostly come at the tail end, when you're finishing, high school. But one thing I wanted to say is, I think based on the current system, we think that, the subjects that we did limit us to certain opportunities. But the truth is it doesn't. Because even in the Kenyan system, yes, let's say when you're doing like the selection, you'll be told you can only pursue certain degrees and things like that. But the truth is a lot of universities outside there, they're not necessarily looking at the combination of subjects. So I feel like it's a mentality, and also it's part of our system. To be fair, the mentality is as a result of, the system that we've already had.
Yes.
But you're able to tell you. So let's say, for example, you wanted to pursue, let's say something like, you talked about psychology, for example.
Yes.
But the truth is the Kenyan system will check, let's say, for example, some sciences.
Biology, chemistry, physics,
and things
and
like
math.
that. But you'll find that there are some universities out there that are not necessarily checking that. And so And even in terms of like getting scholarship opportunities and access to those universities, majority of them look at what kind of impact are you looking to make in your society.
I love
so
that.
Yes, so if for example I want to do, let's say, a degree in let's say international relations, for example.
Yes.
A lot of them, when you're doing those scholarship applications and you're doing the essays, they're asking you really about who you are as a person, what you care about, and how you are going to give back to the community, so that you're not going to pursue this degree for the sake of pursuing it.
Just cause.
Yes, or for the sake of just getting a degree and having an amazing graduation, but you're actually using this degree to make an impact. So even at ALX, we kind of try to expand, our learners' minds, where, you are not stuck to certain paths just because of your grades. In fact, there are a lot of other opportunities, a lot of other institutions that are looking like at a wide variety of things. And you'll find the reason why some of these universities in like the US and Germany and whatnot produce like, guys who are winning like Nobel Prizes and things like that is, from the selection early on, they're not looking at biology A and what not be. They're looking at your mission as a person. They're looking at,
they start with the end in mind.
Yes, you are coming to this university. Why? And what are you going to do with it? Yeah.
I absolutely love this conversation, Esther. And I want us to dive deep. We'll do a little deep dive so that we can talk about, because sometimes we say there are boundaries and we imagine them when you're sitting at home. You're like, oh, my child did 844. So what is the conversion like to go, for instance, and to study in Canada? I know a lot of them, the universities there probably will have the international baccalaureate system, depending on where you're going, or the British system. So I want you to take us step by step. Just pole. I have done, now it's CBC, although we've not fully phased it off. Maybe the higher classes are still finishing. This is the last lot of the 844 curriculum, right?
Yeah.
So I want us to come back with that conversation. We're going to get into song. And then when we come back, you'll tell us, sasa nimefanya KCSE ama nimefanya CBC ama nimefanya the British curriculum. What next? How do I know how my A translates to this? Because we always have those issues, and I feel like sometimes it's a boundary when it shouldn't be. That's why you're here.
Yes.
Okay, more with Esther Kariuki. When we are back, we talk how to access global universities with ALX Pathway. Any questions you may have for her at SpiceFMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And ALX, give me the handle again.
At ALX_Kenya.
Perfect. So see you in a bit. I have the pleasure of having in studio Esther Kariuki, the Marketing and Students Recruitment Manager Kenya at ALX Pathway. Oh, Esther, off air we have spoken about so much. I think she was even giving me like a counseling session at some point. Umemaliza shule. You have sat your final exam. In Kenya, we have very different systems. We have the privilege of having many systems. We have the 844 system we are phasing out. CBC that, we are in there, smack in the middle. There's no turning back. And then we also have the ones who do the international curriculums. And then in your head, you have hurdles. yangu hapa Kenya, or this might be. How does it translate? Should I want to go to school, for instance, in Germany?
Yeah.
How do you address that concern to a parent?
All right. So when they come to ALX and join ALX Pathway, we spend 8 months with them. Wow. And so 8 months, sometimes, people think is a long time. And it is. But, some of the key things that we take them through, is one, university preparation.
Yes.
So a lot of these universities, the application process is not the same here. Here, we open the system, you choose based on, let's say like your grades and things like that, and that's it. But a lot of these universities, you need to like write essays, you need to do video interviews.
Wow.
And you need to write, whole applications justifying why you are going to that university, why they should accept you, let alone even the scholarship part, even just why as a student, if it's, let's say, University of California, Berkeley, UC Berkeley, why should I, it's a very prestigious school, so they want the very best of the best. So why should we accept you into our university?
And there's limited slots probably internationally.
Yes, there are limited slots. And so when you spend 8 months with, these young guys, they learn a lot of skills around leadership, around communicating for impact. They learn how to problem solve, critical thinking, all the skills that you need to succeed in the university and even beyond. And, why are these skills important even before you join university?
Yes.
It's because these are the same skills that you leverage on to make the best out of your university experience.
Very true.
You don't want to, let's say, go to a prestigious school
and you're half-baked.
Yes, and then also you come out just with your degree, having not gone through, a lot of experiences, where you'll find a lot of these universities offer such a wide variety of things that you can do. So how do you take advantage of that? So we call them like the 8 meta skills that they get to learn. And they also learn how to become entrepreneurs as well. I think we come from a school of thinking where we're like, everyone must be employed.
Yes.
But the truth is, a lot of people also have the opportunity to see problems in the society, create solutions, and build businesses and create employment.
Very, very, very true.
So those are the things that, we start to tell them early on. So now, as part of those experience, then you get to become a better person. You get to grow. We also have other things that they get to do as part of ALX Pathway, like community service, public speaking sessions, leadership sessions, and all these things are things that they can leverage on for their university application.
That is true, because I've seen some my relatives and people close to me who have children who have applied to universities abroad. They want to know if you're part of any charity, any community groups, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's not just because here you are reduced to a grade.
It is.
Lipata to B.
Yeah. Nivo.
Full stop. Tell me about the 8 meta skills that you help enhance in the students.
So one, it's leading self. And then leading others, because you can't lead other people if you don't know how to lead yourself.
Very true.
Then we talk about entrepreneurial thinking, critical thinking, quantitative reasoning. So in the world of, like, let's say AI and data and whatnot, how do you use data to make the proper decisions so that you're not making decisions for the sake of making decisions, but you're really putting into thought like the data and things like that. You also learn how to use a few tech tools to become efficient and whatnot. And it's like the basic things like Google Suite, where you'll find it's not like we go through high school learning these things.
True.
Learning how to use Google Suite, learning how to
Google
use AI to grow in your career.
Ata Google Sheet kwa ofisi inasumbua.
Kazi nyingi sana. But those are the skills that they get to learn.
Yeah.
And so now when they learn those skills, we have broken down ALX Pathway, the 8 months, into term 1 and term 2. So
out of the 8 months, you break it down.
Yes. So now in term 2, you'll start seeing now a lot of these universities opening up the application, and then we get to work with them now in the application process. So let's say if it's ALU in Rwanda, what do they need exactly in the application process? How do you need to present yourself? And we take them through even some experiential sessions where you demonstrate how you are a leader, for example, how you can do public speaking, how you can communicate well.
I love
Can
that.
you also do projects? And all of it, as they're learning these 8 meta skills, the core thing is we have our model called 70-20-10. 70% projects, 20% peer work, and then 10% theory.
Oh, wow.
Compared to, let's say, in a normal system, it's like 99.999% theory. And the reason is, as they do these projects, because these skills are not skills that you learn by reading a book or by reading like a paper. You really have to put in the work.
Very true.
And learn these skills. And so now that kind of like now helps them package themselves now for scholarships to these universities.
Yeah, so this 8 months, Abu, tell me where these 8 months, where we are fixing them, because you're in high school, maybe you're in your 3rd term, I'm assuming?
No, not this. You have to do after finishing high school.
After finishing high school.
Yes.
So it's like more or less a gap year when you're trying to prepare yourself for your next chapter, right?
Yes, more or less, because, for us, people finish in December, right? So you have January to like August and whatnot. But even if, let's say, you start, in our next course that's starting in May, then you can still continue, because a lot of people are free for that year after high school.
Very
so
true.
You have the time to do ALX Pathway and then start your university
And the ones who do the international system finish before summer break. That's in around June. So they also, you start with them from June until they do their block 8 months.
Yeah, because you have intakes in May and September.
Yes.
So for them, they can now join in September.
I love it. I love it. So sometimes people think they'll like going to study abroad is a luxury, and by abroad, and I love that you included a university in Rwanda, because it means anything out of our borders, outside our borders, Cindy, anything that is outside Mapietu is what you help us, you assist us in trying to place in. So if someone thinks this is a luxury, these are rich people problems, this conversation Yolanda has brought is for the 1%. How do you sway someone's mind who is stuck in that conclusion?
The interesting thing is, let's say, for example, if you are applying to like one of our partners, ALU, that's based in Rwanda and Mauritius,
yes,
they actually prioritize the most vulnerable people, the ones who are coming from, a background where, let's say, your parents are not able to sustain like your education and things like that. Because you see, at the end of the day is when you're doing scholarships and they're competitive, who needs it the most?
The vulnerable.
So it's not a luxury for like the top 1%. And the thing is, even as you go through ALX Pathway, you get to work with you. So it's so that you see like the possibilities that, you can apply and you can get these opportunities. Whether you come from a privileged background or not, it doesn't matter. You all go through the same ALX Pathway experience and we get to work with you. And because, for the scholarships that we have, there are different types of scholarships. Some scholarships prioritize those who are from needy backgrounds.
True.
So that means that, if you're somewhere as a parent and you're thinking, how do I access these opportunities? Then bring them to Pathway.
I love it. Again, I will take you back to give us your handles, give us your contact details. And then when we come back, we can talk outside the education system. They are gifted students in other ways, in other regards. There's the best chess player, there's the best football player. And we hear in other countries that people get scholarships because he was big and he could be a quarterback in an American team.
Yeah.
So whether you have such things in consideration. So give us your contact details, your handles, and then we'll play some music and then we'll be back.
All right. So in terms of our email, it's alxkenya@alxafrica.com if you want to write to us and learn more. alxkenya@alxafrica.com. But then also if you just want to start your application for Pathway right now, because the deadline is coming up on 21st next week.
That's actually next week.
Next week on Monday. So just go to our website, alxafrica.com/join Pathway, and then you'll be able to see like the whole application process.
Yes.
And for our social at ALX_Kenya.
That one is the easiest one.
Yes.
At ALX_Kenya. Mambo yote iko hapo. Even if you're asking for a physical location, you want to sit down, then you'll be guided better there.
Yes.
Thank you so much. She's still here. She's not going anywhere. You can ask her any questions at Spice FM KE on all the social platforms. You can call us live in the studio 0719012600. Have you ever thought about going to study abroad? Do you want your kids to go study abroad? We are always complaining, we don't have enough slots in our local systems. Maybe that is the journey that has been waiting for you, and you can begin that journey today, courtesy of ALX Pathway. We talk more when we are back. Still in the studio, Esther Karaoke, the marketing and student recruitment manager for Kenya for ALX. And Esther, I want to read some messages.
Okay.
For you. I'm Yolanda Mulwa, by the way. I don't know if I introduced myself. You have Baba Wanda listening, Abdikadir Abdallah from Komarok. But it's so funny that you have people from across the globe listening. Oluma Bayana says, best spice. App Gedizim is also watching us live on spicefm.co.ke. We have Suhana Divan who is asking, hi, does one have to have an A to get the opportunity to have a scholarship?
The answer is no, because I think also we are conditioned that, only people who get an A will get opportunities, but the truth is it's not. You can have different grades also depending on what you want to pursue, but also different schools check different grades.
Yes.
But the summary of it, you don't need to. It's not just for A students. Yeah. So if you didn't get an A, don't feel like, this is not for me. No. You can come to ALX Pathway.
I love that. You have Gift Francis Zere who's listening, or rather watching us live from South Sudan. We have Moses Pevaga who's watching us live from Nigeria. And we have Nixon Richards Ombok who's tuned in live from Kisumu. Do you also take applications from outside our borders?
So for ALX Pathway specifically, we take applications from 8 countries.
Yes.
Which is Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, and Morocco. So because for, when you are just straight out of high school, you need also a lot of support even throughout the program. So the way our program is structured, majority of the course content is online, but there are a lot of in-person things because, when we are talking about the meta skills, have to learn leadership and all those things, a lot of it is very experiential and needs to be in person.
In person, yes.
Yeah. But if you are outside those countries, we also have other shorter ALX programs in tech, in the creative space, in AI that you can take. So don't feel like, you can't, learn a new skill. Yeah, because of the boundaries, because all our other programs can be done by anyone across Africa.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. I had asked you a question before we left to take a music interlude. Esther, we are all very differently abled. There's people who excel in the classroom, unampatia tu exam, hivi hata kama hakukua atapata A or even a B. But there's people who are average students, but they are, they have skills outside the classroom. Maybe you are the best swimmer, you have medals to boot, you've swum for our national team, you are the best basketball player in your province, tunaitangwa siku hizi county in your region. Do those other skills play a part in placement?
Yes, they play a big part in terms of your application process, because remember, these universities are looking at who you are as a person. And, who you are is not defined by your grades. So what are other things that, you do as a person that you're passionate about, that you're talented? It could also be that, you are the best person in terms of, your debate club, for example. It's not just sports and things like that.
Yes.
All those things go into packaging you as a person, and they're the things that you can leverage on in your scholarship application to kind of stand out among the rest. Because, considering if 10 people have gotten let's say even a B, for example.
Yes.
What
sets you apart?
Yeah, so what sets you apart? So if there are things that you have done or you're very good at that are outside academic qualifications, then all the better.
I really love what you're saying, because when you think about it in the long run, you're preparing these people for life. Because later when you're presenting your CV, because do you see these Kenyan jokes sometimes? Ati, nimekishinda na apply kazi, but kwa gazeti imeandikwa you need to have 4
years experience.
And I'm like, you need to work backwards. Because what you're trying to say is you need to be a wholesome individual.
Yes.
You cannot just umesoma kitabu, because that's what the world now entails or is looking for. When your future employer is looking for you, they don't just care that you graduated the top of your class with honors in your class. Can you work well with others? What other skills can we enhance or build? Or you can also teach the rest of the team. So I love that you try to make sure you're molding a wholesome human being. Something else that I might have not asked you is if the process, your intake process, what it entails, and if there's something that you're supposed to pay, because we have a cut-off time. We have 21st, which is next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our process in terms of the application is very simple. You go to our website and you apply. The application process only takes 15 minutes.
Wow.
And that 15 minutes is just getting to know who you are, just basic details, your name, your background and whatnot. So there is not much to it. Before we used to have even English tests and logical tests, and then guys complain, so we removed them. So that means, anyone and everyone can come to ALX
So there's
Pathway.
No exams that you do?
As you join ALX Pathway?
Yeah.
No.
And at the end of the 8-month meta skills, do you do an exam?
No. So remember now, as they're doing all these skills and doing these projects, they are graded every week on the projects that they are doing.
Continuous improvement process.
Yes, continuous improvement process. And you're based, the grades that you're getting in ALX Pathway are based on what you are learning, the projects that you're doing, the assignments that you're doing, because we also don't do exams inside ALX.
I like that.
And so during that process now, when you get to go through know, you really like get to learn as a person and really grow as a person.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like for everyone, because even for the university options, there are different university options based on different needs. And so when you say they're based on everyone, you can always find something, or rather you can always find a university partner that, you know, you are interested in.
I love that. Let's talk language barrier as we take it home. We have 9 minutes to the top of the hour. I remember that the government was helping many Kenyans because joblessness is like, I just feel like at the top of the pyramid in terms of our problems currently as a nation. And when they were talking to us about, in fact, KICC was full of people from all corners of this country coming to try their luck at being placed and getting jobs abroad. One thing that most of the candidates fell short, and I think, is it Mheshimiwa ama anaitwa nani? CSPS, Alfred Mutua. His Highness, that guy, Eminence. Yeah, he was saying that many Kenyans failed the language test.
Oh, okay.
Yes, failed the language test. We are taught in English from kindergarten.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you do to enhance our proficiency maybe in English? Because you're saying you don't offer the ALX tests, for example. If someone is going to a francophone country, to the French-speaking country, or maybe in Germany, do you offer maybe some classes for the language to enhance their language that they're going to be speaking in the country that they are going to? Or what do you do? How do you advise a potential candidate?
Even with the English part, the issue is not necessarily like, not knowing English. I think it's knowing how to communicate well and articulate yourself. Because, even in some of these tests, they'll be asked, let's say, to write a 50-paragraph essay on, let's say, this and this and this. So it's like, it's not that you don't know, it's kind of like just being able to articulate yourself. And one of the skills that, we teach them is communicating for impact. So we may not necessarily do like, a standard, English course.
Yes.
But based on the skills that how now do you communicate properly? How do you articulate yourself properly? If you are writing, if it's written communication, if you are speaking in front of people, that English that, we've been learning since primary, high school, how do you use that? Because I feel like in primary and high school, it's very much, grammar driven.
Very true.
Yeah, and whether no, the words are losing, like
your adjectives, your
yes,
your pronouns.
And the adverbs and all those things. But, how do you take that and now you
the
are
practicality of it.
Yeah, so I think for us, we focus on the practicality and how do you communicate better, which now goes on to help you with your university application process.
I like that because I've never understood when someone says a Kenyan can't speak English.
Yes.
And we are actually one of the very well-versed English speakers in the region. Hi, Nigeria. I know you're watching. I don't know how you're a British colonist. That is not English, I beg. But we're very well spoken as a people. Except Akina Gen Z, my producer. Don't stop, I'm kujaing. That's not English. But we've understood you, Esther. Someone is listening at home and they're toying around with the idea of studying abroad. They are scared. My child is going to uncharted territory. Wale watoto wanaendanga kusoma abroad ni wale walifail. Watoto wale wamepass wataenda, our big league schools, our universities here. We know them. We have them in every county. What do you tell that parent who is probably downplaying the impact of universities abroad?
Yeah. I'll say the one thing a parent needs to know is we are living in a bigger world than Kenya. And that means a bigger world is, even more opportunities. And even if you're looking at, even income-wise, like there are more opportunities outside Kenya that someone can pursue. And the best place to start is giving your child a chance to go to some of these global universities. The kind of exposure, the kind of knowledge, the kind of experiences they have in some of these universities.
Yeah.
To be honest, you can't compare it to going to a university here. So it's not to downplay like the importance of our universities here, no. But the truth is, we are now living in a bigger world. A lot of companies are also becoming, Pan-African and global companies. So that means that, the more someone, who's younger has been exposed to like global universities, global opportunities, they're even better prepared for work opportunities than someone who's just been exposed to just, our country itself.
Very true. And sometimes I'm like, we like to send when we are talking about Kenyans working abroad, sometimes we assume that you can only go if you're a skilled laborer. Unajua, people who work with their hands. You can be a security guard. We can send our IT gurus also. Yeah. And I think they are better suited if they've also gone to compete and learn at that international level. So I do agree with you that if you can, why not?
Yeah, and just to add on to that, a lot of these countries, let's say in the US, in the Asian market, they have a declining youth population.
Yes.
So you're finding like the average age population, is like more than 30. So in some countries, it's like 40s and 50s.
Wow.
So that means, in Kenya, our average population, like people are, the average is age 19. Wow. So for us, if in the near future, in the coming years, a lot of those people won't have people to work in those companies.
That is true.
And so Africa, we are like very well primed for taking up those opportunities. And what better way to expose your child to like global opportunities right now, because a lot of those countries will be hiring from Africa.
That sounds so diabolical. I'm like, did she just start something? I'm like, muhaha, Africa to the world. We are about to conquer the world. But thank you so much, Esther. I wish we did not have 3 minutes. This was such Yani, I've just kept having very many aha moments that and also demystifying a lot of assumptions that people have, that of course you didn't get an A, Kajoni kababa junior kupata A, but bado anaweza enda kusoma abroad.
True.
and get a job opportunity anywhere. Yeah, across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you
again. Send us and star us back to ALX Kenya.
So for our socials, and you can DM us anytime, it's at ALX_Kenya.
Yes.
Our website is alxafrica.com, but if you want to apply for Pathway, it's alxafrica.com/join Pathway. And then you can also write to us at alxkenya@alxafrica.com.
I love it.
Yes.
But mkumbuke ALX_Kenya. That one it's so easy.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wanted you to steer us. Yeah, that was the word, to steer us back home to ALX, because I know 21st is the last day.
The deadline.
Yes. Of registration.
Yes.
When is the next registration?
After that, we will have registration up to maybe sometime in August, because the next intake is in September. So Konimbali, if you have the chance, just do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please visit all those pages, talk to them. They are very ready for you and to answer any questions and concerns. Thank you so much, Esther Kariuki.
Thank you so much.
I hope to see you again before the next placement, so we
invite me.
Definitely.